Am I the a-hole for ditching my stepdad at a gas station and forcing him to get an Uber? My 15M mom and dad separated when I was 9. My dad eventually remarried to my stepdad Joaquin and my mom remarried to my stepdad Joe. Both me and my older brother Cam, 18M, hey Joe. He's homophobic and misogynistic and so are his sons, 14M, and 17M, and we have no idea why our mom likes him. Luckily Cam can just stay at dad's. Joe and his boys don't like me much because I'm not some traditionally masculine sports guy. I play in band with some friends which if you are queer and I like flowers etc. even though I'm just straight and have a GF because I'm pretty non-conforming they don't I'm being manly enough. My dad and Brian are my safe place. They come to all my artsy stuff and support me unlike my mom and Joe or my stepbrothers. So I try to spend as much time with them over at my dad's. Joe is always trying to get me to try out for sports or to get to work out with sons to put some hair on my chest. I got my permit last month and my dad and Brian have been teaching me how to drive. My mom thought it'd be a great idea to have Joe try to teach me so we could bond. I tried to tell her no that Dad and Brian were already teaching me but she wouldn't have it. 2 days ago Joe takes me out driving and we get like 30 minutes from the house all the while he's telling me how to do stuff I already learned from my dad and Brian. I told him that and he goes on this rant about how he probably knows better and he's trying to keep me from ending up like Brian and my dad. I asked what he meant by that and he tells me like a sissy and that I needed to man up. We had to pull over for gas. I was pissed so after we filled up and he went in to get something I drove off and left him there. I went home and I ignored his calls. He ended having to get an Uber home. To say that my mom and him were pissed is an understatement. I told her what he'd said and she told me that was no reason to do something like that and grounded me. So I had Cam pick me up and take me over to dad's and I've been ignoring mom's and Joe's calls. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Brian is my other stepdad, I forgot what name I was using. Am I the a-hole for giving my son a reality check? I'm a single dad. I have 5 boys, elder 2, 18 and 17, from a previous relationship, and the younger 3 with my late wife, 15, 13, and 11. My 17 and 18-year-old both have jobs and contribute to buying their own food and clothes. My 15-year-old, we'll call him Jack, doesn't. I don't have a problem with this but it is relevant to the situation. We're not badly off but I'm far from wealthy, and with 5 kids in the house I have to budget carefully. I can only buy but so much food and so many clothes, and the rule is unless you have your own money you have to accept what's there and that's it or there won't be enough to go around. For those who will say well then should have had less kids, it's a bit late for that don't you think? Jack has been unable to keep a job, but that doesn't keep him from complaining about his clothes being too small/uncool and that he wishes he could eat like his friends, going out, nice restaurants, etc. I understand, I grew up less fortunate than my friends as well and I hated it. But that doesn't mean I can magically change things. Yesterday I came in from work and my younger sons tell me they were going to make PBJs but they can't find the peanut butter. I can't find it either so I end up asking my older sons and Jack. Turns out Jack not only ate the peanut butter but he's also been stealing food from his older brothers, too. I told Jack he was way old enough to know stealing is wrong and that he can't eat food that his little brothers need. He got annoyed and asked if I wanted him to start eating from garbage cans. Now I provide as best I can for all my children and while it could of course be better we're nowhere near the poverty level of the whole eating out the garbage trope. I told him the reality is that if he wants to buy fancy foods and snacks he's going to have to get a job and pay for them himself. He wasn't happy to hear this, but I think it needed to be said. Am I the a-hole here? Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I told you so when her good deed bit her in the ass? I am 22, now I know I am more cynical than the average person but I really do believe that no good deed goes unpunished. My partner is much more upbeat than me so we balance out. Now my sister and I have a nephew, he is 13 and I'm sad to say he is just a lot of trouble. Really waiting for him to grow out of it. His parents try but he is the type of kid that will blow out the birthday candles at a birthday party. Every time he goes somewhere he does something. Now there was a family get together and his parents couldn't come so he wasn't going. So my sister offered to take him and he could sleep at her place. I told her this was a bad idea. She ignored it and did the plan. She called me this morning about how he was a terror at home and broke some of her stuff. I said, told you so and she called me a jerk. She went to mom and she is on sister's side. Am I the a-hole for pretending I don't have money so my family won't bother me? My wife 52F and I 51M recently partly retired with $4 million in savings, $1 million of which is our home. I am systems engineer and my wife was an RN. I still work part-time/contract but less than 20 hours/week and my wife is fully retired. We are very frugal people and try to save where we can. I've also made it clear to my wife to never tell my family we have money and to pretend that we are dead broke. Her family knows we do well but they never ask for money. My family won't stop asking for money. My mom, dad and brother are terrible with money. My dad and brother both work oil and gas which results in a few fat years of tons of money coming and followed up with layoffs. Not saying the layoffs are their fault but they have never saved anything so they run up credit cards to pay for everything. My parents have borrowed against their house so many times they effectively haven't paid anything towards the principal and they have had that house for 35 years. They should be retired by Kent and my dad recently had to go back to work as a school bus driver because they have so much debt and no money. My brother inherited their spending issues and has his own alcohol struggles. He's currently going through his second divorce. I didn't tell my son not to tell his grandparents we recently retired. And they found out from him recently and have been calling me livid because we pretended we were broke for years. But clearly if we can retire we have savings. I didn't tell them because I know the results are they would just ask us for money constantly. They have on several occasions when we went on vacation and they found out via Facebook we have since learned not to post. And came knocking for money. We lied and told them we won some money but had spent it all on the vacation. Am I obligated to help them? I don't feel so because both my parents and brother made lots over their career but my dad is in his 70s and still working. I'm sure they are contacting me to ask for money but am I the a-hole if I continue to pretend I have none? Not sure how I'm going to that now that they know we are semi-retired. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister if she's had enough attention? My 30F sister, 36, is pregnant with her second child. Her first child, she didn't find out the sex until she gave birth. This time, she and her husband did but have decided not to tell anyone. We've all respected that. Like, it's their business. They have made a pretty big deal about it, constantly bringing it up and trying to bait people into asking, just so they can smile and say we know but we're not telling. Annoying, but we avoid it. They recently picked a name. As you can guess, they don't want to tell anyone. Cool, their choice. But once again, there's baiting for people to ask questions. I am also pregnant with my first. We're not finding out the sex until birth, though we have 2 names picked out and have told people if they ask. I had my baby shower last weekend. My sister was there. She baited a few people that didn't know her into asking her what she was having. I ignored it. Then, while opening gifts, I received 2 onesies. One had the name we picked out for a girl, the other with the one for a boy. My aunt explained I could hold on to the other one for if we had a second or donate it. Both are pretty common names. I thought it was so sweet. My sister then said, "Oh, we've picked a name too." I already knew what would happen. A few asked what it was. She smirked and said, "We're not telling." I rolled my eyes and said, "Yeah, we know. Have enough attention for now?" She turned red but didn't say anything else. We moved on. My mom later chastised me, saying I shouldn't have called her out like that. Apparently my sister cried after. I pointed out she already had her shower where she could annoy people with all that, she doesn't need to do it with mine. Am I the a-hole?